Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev.
Hello. Hi.
Hare Krishna, Linda. How are you
Maria,
doing?
how are you? Okay. All right. Just stressed. Just stressed. Oof. This is beginning to feel unbearable, actually.
What physically or what emotionally?
Yeah, physically.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Being around my son, he's so stressed out. And just being near him, I pick up on his stress right in the solar plexus area, and
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble
like,
obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. I'm sorry, Linda, about you're just picking up all that energy. Is that it?
yeah. All these wants, they're being materialized from the negativity that in the want, that's out there right now. It's just like, wow, like, can we just stop, wanting or thinking we need this and we need that, because, everybody's hurting, Can't we just go into meditation and just, come to, not come to terms, but just realize that peace lies within us, not in things.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Crazy.
I know this
Crazy.
is a crazy time. Well, so I'm yeah, there's I guess Leela Mandri has indicated that she's not going to be on. So I think that we should start with prayer and hopefully that should be helpful, as well as reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. So would we like to all say prayer now?
Yeah.
Tiranandasya Chananjana Salakaya Chakshu Umilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistan Stapitanyena Bhutale Swayan Rupa Kadarmayam Tadanti Sva Patanti Pam Vancha Kopatripyacha Kripa Sindhu Paevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Rama Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama Rama
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Narayana
Namaskritya
Namaskritya, Shaiva
Saiva
Narottam,
Narottamam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Yasam
Tato
Tator
Udira
Vidurayet
Nash
Nasta Prasata Bhadrasu
Presu
Nityam Bhaga
Tasevaya
Patasevaya
Bhagavati
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Loke Bhaktir
Bhakti Bhavati
Bhakti
Naishtaki. Okay, so I believe we're reading 44 through 47.
No, it's 44 to 48.
44 through 48, sorry. And
I believe, yeah.
okay, so who has a book that is interested in reading?
And I believe, Ganga, it's my day today
Oh,
to
I'm
do the prayer.
sorry. I didn't know. I didn't hear anybody come on, so I thought it was one of the, yeah, typically you're usually another day, right? I forgot you
So,
made a
but I
change.
changed it so that I have my Thursdays open to go to
Oh,
the
okay.
temple.
Okay, I'm quiet now.
No, not a problem. All right. Yeah, I mean, anybody can read, that's for sure. Anybody who has a book, like as you mentioned.
Okay, I can read some.
Okay.
40, you said 44, start there?
Yes.
Okay. Prananyamena trivrita pranandriya manomalam sanayirviyatasya bihyayan manasa guruna guram. Translation. After sitting on your seat, practice the 3 kinds of breathing exercises, and thus gradually control the life air, the mind, and the senses. Completely free yourself from all material contamination, and with great patience begin to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In this verse, the entire yoga system is described in summary, and special stress is given to the breathing exercises for stopping the disturbing mind. The mind, by nature, is always oscillating, for it is very fickle, but the breathing exercise is meant to control it. This process of controlling the mind might have been very possible in those days, millions of years ago, when Dhruva Maharaj took to it. But at the present moment, the mind has to be fixed directly on the lotus feet of the Lord by the chanting process. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one immediately concentrates on the sound vibration and thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord, and very quickly one is elevated to the position of samadhi, or trance. If one goes on chanting the holy names of the Lord, which are not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, naturally his mind becomes absorbed in thought of the Lord. It is recommended to Dhruva Maharaj that he meditate on the Supreme Guru, or Supreme Spiritual Master. The Supreme Spiritual Master is Krishna, who is therefore known as Satya Guru. This refers to the Supersoul, who is sitting in everyone's heart. He helps from within, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, and he sends the spiritual master who helps from without. The spiritual master is the external manifestation of the Chatya Guru, or the spiritual master sitting in everyone's heart. The process by which we give up our thoughts of material things is called pratyahara, which entails being freed from all material thoughts and engagements. The word abhidyayat, which is used in this verse, indicates that unless one's mind is fixed, one cannot meditate. The conclusion, therefore, is that meditation means thinking of the Lord within. Whether one comes to that stage by the Astanga Yoga system or by the method recommended in the Sastras, especially for this present age, to constantly chant the holy name of the Lord, the goal is to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you so much, Manasi Ganga Mataji. Would anybody else care to read? Linda Mataji or Ruchi Mataji? Let's see who else is on. Or I think Lavanya Kata, I think this is Prema Rasa maybe. I'm confused. Anyway, all right, I'll read the next
Hare Krishna
one.
Mataji, this is Lavanya.
Lavanya, yes, Lavanya Mataji. Would you care to read text 45?
Yes, Mataji, sure. Prasadabhimukam sashvat prasanna vadane kshanam sunasam subhruvam charu kapolam surasundaram. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The form of the Lord is described herein. The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful and pleasing in attitude. To the devotees who see him, he appears never to be displeased, and he is always prepared to award benedictions to them. His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows, His raised nose and his broad forehead are all very beautiful. He is more beautiful than all the demigods. Purport. This verse clearly explains how one has to meditate on the form of the Lord. Impersonal meditation is a bogus invention of modern days. In none of the Vedic literatures is impersonal meditation recommended. In Bhagavad Gita, when meditation is recommended, the word mat paraha, which means pertaining to me, is used. Any Vishnu form pertains to Lord Krishna because Lord Krishna is the original Vishnu form. Sometimes someone tries to meditate upon the impersonal Brahman, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as Avyakta, meaning unmanifested or impersonal. But it is remarked by the Lord himself that those who are attached to this impersonal feature of the Lord suffer a very troublesome task because no one can concentrate on the impersonal feature. One has to concentrate on the form of the Lord, which is described here in connection with Dhruva Maharaja's meditation. As will be apparent from later descriptions, Dhruva Maharaja perfected this kind of meditation and his yoga was successful. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Lavanya Mataji. Okay, I suppose I can read the rest of the verses because some of them are a couple of them are short. Okay, text 46. Tarunam Ramani Yangam Arunos Stix Shanadaram Ranatashrayanam Nrinam Sharanyam Karuna Pranavam. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Narada Muni continued, the Lord's form is always youthful. Every limb and every part of his body is properly formed, free from defect. His eyes and lips are pinkish, like the rising sun. He is always prepared to give shelter to the surrendered soul. And anyone so fortunate as to look upon him feels all satisfaction. The Lord is always worthy to be the master of the surrendered soul, for he is the ocean of mercy. Purport. Everyone has to surrender to someone superior. That is always the nature of our living condition. At the present moment, we are trying to surrender to someone, either to society or to our nation, family, state, or government. The surrendering process already exists, but it is never perfect because the person or institution unto whom we surrender is imperfect. And our surrender, having so many ulterior motives, is also imperfect. As such, in the material world, no one is worthy to accept anyone's surrender, nor does anyone fully surrender to anyone else unless obliged to do so. But here, the surrendering process is voluntary, and the Lord is worthy to accept the surrender. This surrender by the living entity occurs automatically as soon as he sees the beautiful, youthful nature of the Lord. The description given by Narad Muni is not imaginary. The form of the Lord is understood by the Parampara system. Mayavadi philosophers say that we have to imagine the form of the Lord. But here, Narad Muni does not say that. Rather, he gives the description of the Lord from authoritative sources. He is himself an authority, and he is able to go to Vaikuntha Loka and see the Lord personally. Therefore, his description of the bodily features of the Lord is not imagination. Sometimes we give instructions to our students about the bodily features of the Lord, and they paint him. Their paintings are not imaginary. The description is given through disciplic succession, just like that given by Narad Muni, who sees the Lord and describes his bodily features. Therefore, such descriptions should be accepted. And if they are painted, that is not imaginative painting. Text 47. Shri Vatsankam Gana Shamam Purusham Vana Malinam Shankha Chakra Gada Padmer Advivyakta Chaturbhujam. Translation. The Lord is further described as having the mark of Shri Vatsa, or the sitting place of the goddess of fortune, and his bodily hue is deep bluish. The Lord is a person. He wears the garland of flowers, and he is eternally manifest with four hands, which hold, beginning from the lower left hand, a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. Purport. Here in this verse, the word Purusham is very significant. The Lord is never female. He is always male, Purusha. Therefore, the impersonalist who imagines the Lord's form as that of a woman is mistaken. The Lord appears in female form if necessary, but his perpetual form is Purusha because he is originally male. The feminine feature of the Lord is displayed by goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi, Radharani, Sita, etc. All these goddesses of fortune are servitors of the Lord. They are not the supreme, as falsely imagined by the impersonalist. Lord Krishna, in his Narayan feature, is always four-handed. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Arjuna wanted to see his universal form, he showed this feature of four-handed Narayan. Some devotees are of the opinion that Krishna is an incarnation of Narayan, but the Bhagavat school says that Narayan is a manifestation of Krishna. Text 48. Kiritinam kundalinam keura valayan vitam kaustu babarana grihvam pita kausheya vasam sasam. Translation. The entire body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, is decorated. He wears a valuable jeweled helmet, necklaces, and bracelets. His neck is adorned with the Kaustuba jewel, and he is dressed in yellow silk garments. Okay, so Matajis, I will try to make some sense of this. So we go back to text 44. Now, this again is Narad Muni as guru here, instructing. Am I correct? Yeah, instructing Dhruva Maharaj. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this particular section, I believe this part of the Vedas, this here is the very beginning of the yugas. I believe it's, what's the first one? Satya Yuga. In that yuga, it was very common, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're talking about Satya Yuga. Meditation was the yuga dharma of that age. And we have to remember that at that time, people could meditate for tens of thousands of years, and then they pull out of trance and it was like nothing happened. Okay. That they were able to do that because they were qualified to sit still and concentrate. Okay. And they were able to control their mind and senses. As the yugas have progressed, we know that the consciousness has gone down with each yuga, successive yuga. And so people, like today in Kali Yuga are not spiritual at all. Very few. You'd be surprised to find someone who's very spiritual. But at that time, people were able to do that. And so that was the Yuga Dharma of the age. And so I think that's setting the tone here. Narad Muni is telling Dhruva Maharaj how to sit, what is the proper sitting posture, and how to breathe, okay, and how to control the life air and the mind and senses. And then, of course, to begin to meditate with patience, you have to be free from all material contamination. So that's, and another thing that's really important in this is that you don't just in that age, they didn't just meditate on anything. Like today, if they were meditating, they would meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, of course, this is part of the Vedas. And so this is sanctioned within the Vedas, okay, within the Parampara system. Today, you get all these bogus people. You have so many types of yoga. You have so many people meditating on nothingness, okay? There are quite a few Mayavadis out there, and they are telling you to just, I remember they would tell me to concentrate on a crack in the sidewalk, or they would say, don't think about anything. And in order for it to be spiritual, the Lord has to be there, as far as I'm concerned. So that never made much sense to me. So today, the yoga system is, how to do the breathing exercises, to stop the mind, which is disturbed. And of course, the minds today are very, very disturbed. And why? Because our minds are constantly flickering back and forth, thinking of this, thinking of that. It's very hard for us to control the mind, hard to control the breathing. There's a way to do it. And it's very scientific, and it's pointed out like that in the Vedas. And Prabhupada is even saying, it might have been possible in those days, millions of years ago, when Dhruva Maharaj took to it. But today, we can't do that. Our Yuga Dharma for the age is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and fixing our mind directly on the lotus feet of the Lord, okay, through chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And in this particular age now, in Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya so mercifully came to spread this Mahamantra all over the world. And what are we getting from this? We are getting the Lord himself. In this particular age, he's appearing in his sound vibration, okay? And so if we listen with rapt attention to the sound that we're making when we're chanting the Lord's names, and we think of the Lord, then we can very quickly make advancement in spiritual life. And at that point, it's not necessary to get into these yoga postures and meditate and try to control this and that. It's just too difficult today. So we can be elevated today in Kali Yuga to the point of samadhi or trance simply by concentrating on the sound vibration. And this is our direct link with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now it says if one goes on chanting the holy names, naturally his mind becomes absorbed in thought of the Lord. So first we're doing the chanting, and then the thought of the Lord appears. Whereas it seems that in the other types of yoga, they're concentrating on breathing, controlling the senses first, doing all of these very difficult things in these sitting postures, etc. And then you have to fix your mind directly on the Lord. Okay. And so it is difficult to do that now, but it was not difficult to do back in Dhruva Maharaj's time. And it does say it was millions and millions of years ago. Okay. And so now, who is he to concentrate on? The Supreme Spiritual Master. And we know the Supreme Spiritual Master is Krishna. Okay. Now here it says he's known as the Chaitya Guru, or the super soul sitting in one's heart. So from within us, from within, the Lord helps us, and he brings or sends the spiritual master to us, and the spiritual master helps us from in our lives, in our daily lives. And so the spiritual master, we know our gurus are the external manifestation of the Chaitya Guru or Krishna, or the Paramatma, form of Krishna sitting within each one of our hearts. And so when we give up our thoughts about material things, it's called pratyahara. So it's not going to be easy for us to meditate unless our minds are fixed and we are freed of all material things, okay? Thoughts and senses. And we want to be able to, when we meditate, we think about the Lord from within. And so it doesn't matter if one comes to that stage using the Ashtanga yoga system, okay, or through what's recommended in the Shastras for this age, we have to chant the holy name of the Lord. So the goal is to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are learning to do that through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the Yuga Dharma for this age. And in those days, and I believe it was Satya Yuga, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was meditation. And still, that was sanctioned within the Vedas because one was meditating upon the Paramatma, or the super soul within one's heart. Okay, so there was God was the one that we meditated upon, one way or the other, whether he came to us through sound vibration or through Paramatma within the heart. The Lord was there, and we were aware of the Lord. So no matter which way we did it, we came to the same end. So that's what I got out of text 44. Okay. Now in text, save your questions for the end. Once again, in text 45, we are taught, look, if you're going to meditate, you meditate upon the form of the Lord. He has a form. He is a person. How do we know this? It's described in the Vedic literature, okay? And it says here that nowhere in the Vedic literature is impersonal meditation recommended. They may be out there today recommending impersonal meditation to calm the nerves or whatever, but the goal is never the Lord. Many times, because there are a lot of people out there who just, they're either atheist or agnostic. There are many. I'm not saying everyone's like that. That's why I was so personally upset about that form of meditation. If I had been taught to meditate upon the Lord, I might have been interested in you know, in meditating that way. But as we know, that's a very long process. And now certain devotees can actually see the Lord. The pure devotees of the Lord, they can see the Lord, and he awards benedictions to them. Okay, and hold on just a moment. I want to get my thought together. Okay. So again, if you're attached to the impersonal feature of the Lord, you suffer a very troublesome task, because it's really not easy, or no one, actually maybe impossible even, to concentrate on an impersonal feature. The air, the light. I mean, very, very difficult to do. You have to concentrate on the Lord as with the form of the Lord as it's described. Okay. Now, Dhruva Maharaj's meditation was successful. Let me say his yoga was successful because Dhruva Maharaj was a perfected soul. Okay, he perfected this type of meditation. Let me think here. No, he was not perfect. He perfected that type of meditation. And so, you know, I used to get so confused when I was reading Bhagavad Gita in the beginning, because when I thought of meditation, this is before I came to Krishna consciousness, what I would see is people telling me, oh, no, you'll just forget about praying to any form of God. This is what I was told. And when that happened, it just confused me, because when I was started to read Bhagavad Gita, there was, you could, in that age, in the millions and millions of years ago, you could meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had a form. Okay. And I was confused. I said, oh, wait a minute. I thought meditation was concentrating on something just like the light or the air. I mean, I totally had it all wrong. So that's why I got confused. It never says that in the Vedas. Vedas always taught to meditate on a personal feature of the Lord. Okay. And then Narad Muni, he's still talking to Dhruva Maharaj, and he's telling him about what the Lord's form is like. This is in text 46. That he's free of defect. Every part of his body is perfect. It's properly formed, etc. He's always prepared to give shelter to the surrendered soul. And anyone so fortunate as to look upon him feels all satisfaction. Now, in this 46, it's describing that our condition as jivas, in this material world, is that we're always surrendering to somebody superior. I don't care if it's our boss, the nation, our husband, our family, our best friends, etc. And so this surrendering, we have that within us. We understand what surrendering is. But here's the problem. Until we came to Krishna consciousness, we never surrendered to anyone or anything that was perfect. All of these people to whom we have surrendered are imperfect. And therefore the surrendering process is imperfect. And because people have, all kinds of ulterior motives. They, I'll surrender to you, but you're going to give me this, or you're going to do this for me. And that is one of the, ulterior motives. I'm trying to think of what one of the offenses is. No, maybe it's not the offense. Never mind. So anyhow, anybody who surrenders to somebody else in the material world, that person is not qualified to accept that kind of surrender. Imagine if somebody surrenders to you. Today, as a devotee, I would feel very uncomfortable with that, because I'm not qualified for someone to surrender to me, because I'm imperfect. My senses are still imperfect. I still have so many things. I still have a lot of contamination that needs to be purified, taken out of me. And so, and most times people today, if they surrender to somebody else, they do it only because they have to. No, I'll do this for my boss. I have to. Otherwise, he's going to fire me. Or it's not because it's being done from the heart. Now, so the difference is that in our surrendering process in Krishna consciousness, it's completely voluntary. Nobody's forcing us to surrender, okay? And the person to whom we are surrendering is perfect. He is the Lord. So that makes it completely different, okay? So he is qualified to accept our surrender, whereas people in the material world are not qualified to accept someone else's surrender. And so Narad Muni is giving this description of the Lord, and this is not imaginary. How do we know this? Because it's been given through the parampara system, okay? And not only that, Narad Muni is an authority himself in this parampara system, and he has seen the Lord himself, okay? He gives the description from authoritative sources, but he himself has gone to Vaikuntha Loka, okay? He has that ability to go to Vaikuntha Loka, and he can see the Lord personally. So that's how we know the description is not imaginary. We're hearing from the right sources in the parampara. And so, why, if he didn't have a form and he didn't have all these features, why would the Vedas make such a to-do about this? They make much ado about what the Lord looks like, and they make a big deal out of his form. If it were not true, it just doesn't make any sense to go on and on and on about what he looks like if he didn't have a form. So, and even today, we see a lot of devotees who've been told about, through the right sources, who've been told what the Lord looks like. And so many of them start to paint pictures of the Lord. We have that evidence in, all the pictures we have on the walls of our home, in the temples, in the ashrams. We have so many beautiful pictures of not just Krishna, but all of Krishna's incarnations, okay, all of the saints and everything. And so they're listening to what his features are. And so the painting is also not imaginary. Then we can say, we look at this painting, we're looking at the Lord, okay, because it's been described through the disciplic succession, and as just like that given by Narad Muni, who sees the Lord. He actually sees the Lord and describes his bodily features, which are exactly the way they've been given to us. Okay, so we should accept that the Lord has a form, and if they paint a picture of the Lord, that is what the Lord looks like. It's not an imagination. All right, just a little bit more here. I get the words energy and energetic and energy. Anyway, the Lord is completely male. People who start to say, well, Lord, God is a woman. This is mistaken, because in the Vedas, all of the women who are described, especially Srimati Radharani and Sati and Lakshmi Dev, they are all serving the Lord. They are serving the Lord. They are servitors. They are not served. Okay, only the Lord is served, and He is originally male. But yes, He can come. He can appear. He can incarnate in female form if necessary. Just as it says here that the feminine feature of the Lord is displayed by goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi, Radharani, Sita. So they are all servitors. They're not the supreme. And so impersonalists imagine that, well, they're all the Lord. They're all these females, they're goddesses. They're, and the Lord is a goddess. And just like this other part here, it's Prabhupada says the Lord Krishna in his Narayan feature has 4 hands, right? And some devotees are of the opinion that Krishna is an incarnation of Narayan. But the Bhagavad school says that Narayan is a manifestation of Krishna. And I think we learned that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita very recently. We were reading, I was trying to look for it quickly before class, and I couldn't find the exact spot. Maybe someone else can. But the point is, not only that, I was talking, oh, that's right, I was doing some research. And some people are of the opinion that Krishna is an incarnation of Narayan. I saw that written. And I was like, wait a minute, this is, some say that he's a manifestation of Ram. I've heard that also. In fact, I was watching a documentary about India, and it was mentioning, oh yeah, first we have Ram, and then we have Krishna as an incarnation of Ram. So I was pretty shocked to hear that, but I'm sure this goes on a lot. In our school of thought, it is just the opposite. It's Narayan who's an incarnation of Krishna. Okay, so that's that. And it just goes on in text 48, the translation. There's no purport there, just that the entire body of the Supreme Lord is decorated. He wears a jeweled helmet, necklaces, bracelets. So it's all described here in the Vedas, okay? Even the colors he wears, all the garments he wears. So there should be no mistake about the fact that the Lord has a form. And so within all of this, starting from the meditation that was going on, millions of years ago during the age of Dhruva Maharaj, up till the present time, if there's any meditation that has any value, it has to be on the form of the Lord. Otherwise, it's imperfect. It has no value. So that's kind of what I got out of very basically, what I got from these texts today. And I'd be most happy if you want to correct me or add to this. Thank you, Mataji's. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment? Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. You explained very well all the verses. Yeah, even I agree with you. Like, without any form, we can't meditate on anything with just a void meditation. So one should always meditate on the form of the Lord. Then only that is a meaningful meditation. Otherwise, and whatever we are doing, the mantra meditation, that is also an important thing in this yuga. Just want to mention that, Mataji. That's it. Thank you so much for explaining nicely.
Sri Devi or Manasi Ganga. Anyone else like to make a comment?
Please accept my humble obeisances, all dear Vaishnavis and Govardhan Leela, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our Gurudev. Yes, I was just listening to you and I agree with Lavanya. You explained everything so nicely. It was really refreshing to again hear about the Lord. I apologize for joining it a bit late. I got a little sidetracked and I forgot about our evening class. Sometimes, when I'm not in that rhythm, I tend to forget. So please forgive me for joining in late. But it was very nice to hear. And meditation on the Supreme Lord is actually the perfection of life. As we get more and more absorbed in Krishna consciousness, ideally we are going to reach the state of samadhi or total trance where we are so absorbed that we are totally unaware of external consciousness. That is the highest stage, of course. And then one is eligible to enter into the pastimes of the Lord and the abode of the Lord. So that's a very elevated condition. But as you said, we have to prepare ourselves gradually by doing the meditation now, even though it may be imperfect, even though it may be full of faults, even though it may be motivated, because actually we want to reach the point of unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service. Still, with all our strength, we should try to please the Supreme Lord. And the beautiful form of the Lord is so worshipable, so worthy of meditation. And these descriptions of the Lord's form given over here, which you very nicely explained, is something we are very blessed to receive. How many people even know about the form of the Lord? How many people are misled by all these impersonal misconceptions or even downright atheism, where they are encouraged to think of themselves as everything? So I really appreciated that the points you mentioned. Only one thing, that the Lord is definitely worshipped by all the Lakshmis and Radharanis and so on, and he is the receives worship, and he doesn't in turn serve these consorts. But in Madhurya Leela, in the feature of conjugal love in Vrindavan, he does serve Radharani. This is the only form of the Lord as well as the only pastime of the Lord where he in turn serves Radharani. He combs her hair, he paints her toenails, he massages her feet, he sheds tears when he upsets her, he lays his flute at her feet. So that's the only thing I wanted to say. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes, I totally forgot to say that. Yes, even though he is to be enjoyed, he does enjoy serving Radharani. He loves her very deeply. Yes, thank you so much for. Yeah, and it's very sweet too, in the ways that he serves her. Very, very sweet. Thank you, Sri Devi.
So, Mataji, I have a question like So we, as he written in this purport, like we all women should think that we are born in this female body to serve others, like to serve the man of the house, or like to serve always in the service mode, Mataji?
Whether one is male or female, one is always female, in the sense that we are all female. We are all servitors. The nature of the soul is to serve. So it really doesn't matter whether one is in a male form or female form. Everyone is serving. The nature of the service may differ. For example, a man being in the man's body is in the role of a provider and protector and so on, but he's also serving. He's serving his family, he's serving his wife, he's serving his parents, he's serving his children, he's serving his in-laws, his neighbors, his colleagues, his boss, everywhere. The servitorship never ends, because that is the dharma, that is the nature of the soul, to serve. So we may serve in different capacities. For example, a leader may be sitting at the head of the table and giving orders or making decisions, but he is also serving in the role of a leader. So we cannot take away service from the person. We cannot, that goes hand in hand with who we really are. Even
But the thing,
God is, even though he is God, he is the greatest servant. He's serving everyone. So we must understand that whether we are male or female, or any living entity is always serving another living entity in some way or the other. That is the dharma. That is our eternal nature, to serve.
But Mataji, I just as per current situation, like how it is going nowadays, like usually people think that male does need not serve, and females, only the females of the house, they have to be always serving the male, like that. In that perspective, I am asking, like, because so now I'm seeing this example of Srimati Radharani and Lakshmi Devi and Parvati. So all these female people, they are serving, they are always serving the Lord in the, so can we take like an example, and we can say to the modern world woman that that this is an example of how we have to serve anybody, like not actually lauding it, like why should I serve, why should I do that, even though if I am a female, is there any need to serve? So some people will have that kind of attitude, right? So they want to dominate. So in that context, I'm asking Mataji. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think for peace in the home, roles and responsibilities have to be discussed and understood and in place, before the couple gets even married. We highly, at Grihastha Vision team, we recommend premarital counseling for this reason, And nowadays, we are all so mixed up. One of our Grihastha Vision team, members, they're a couple, and they were sharing in one workshop how she's very, very good at doing certain things, and he's very, very good at cooking. So then they realized, hey, we are going to save more time if he does the cooking and I do this. I don't even remember what it was. It's Chintamani and Jagannath, one of the members of our Grihastha Vision team. And so they have two daughters. They're both, having to work. She's not working anymore, but they were working. And so they decided that, he will do the cooking and she will do, I don't even remember what it was, but they shared with us that they just decided that this is what works for them, and it's more efficient, it makes more sense. And so he's the better cook, so he's going to cook. I'm better at this, so I'm going to do this. We save time and we all have much more family time together. Everyone is peaceful and happy. So we don't get into people's houses and tell them what to do and how to do it. The ideal is both should cooperatively, understandingly work together as a team to bring out the best in each other, and to ultimately the goal of marriage is to become more and more Krishna conscious. And the success of Grihastha ashram is when you reach Vanaprastha ashram. That means you have successfully prosecuted your Krishna consciousness in the Grihastha ashram, and now are at a stage where you can be more and more detached from the material energy and more attached to Krishna. So this is just my practical observation in today's world about roles and responsibilities. We decide that we don't want to really interfere with each couple. We encourage them to find a good solution to whatever it is that is they're negotiating at the moment. Maybe somebody has to drop the kids. Maybe he is better at driving the car than she is, even though it may naturally be, something she would like to do. Maybe she is accident prone. Then it definitely makes more sense for him to drive the kids to school. So, I mean, this is just my take on it. And traditionally, the role and responsibility of the wife is to make the home a peaceful place, to make everything nice for the family members. So, I personally, when I'm talking to my daughter, who's also a working girl, I'm telling her that, ultimately a woman really has to make the home a nice place. If she's all stressed and anxious and overworked and trying to do 1500 different things, the home is in chaos. So I'm encouraging her to rethink when she gets married and has kids to consider a part-time job, because I personally don't like her to work full-time and not have any energy at the end of the day then to give her home attention, to give her husband and children attention. But who knows what she's going to do? Ultimately, young people decide whatever they want. So this is just my personal take on
Yes,
it.
Mataji. Yeah, thank you so much. But I don't want to interfere in anyone's life. But usually I see like some ladies or some women are like that nowadays. So just a thought, Mataji. That's it. Thank you for
Yeah, many
clarifying
of
that.
the women who come into the relationship, with a lot of pain and trauma and abuse, they are now very afraid of being trampled on, abused, manipulated in this relationship. And so they're very wary of, what they're offering, what they're receiving, because they're afraid of having the same thing repeated. They have trusted their father, they have trusted their uncle, they've got abused, they've got hurt, and now they're coming into a relationship with a man with a lot of baggage. You can imagine how difficult it is when you enter a relationship with so much pain and trauma, how difficult it is to trust, how difficult it is to actually believe that this person will care about you. So it's Kali Yuga is full of all these problems.
Yes, Mataji. Definitely. Yeah.
Such a couple needs a very nice mentor couple to lovingly guide them and help them in their Krishna consciousness. Children who come from traumatized homes, believe me, their marriage is in trouble right from day one. They have never had good role models. They have never seen a mother and father work nicely as a team, respecting one another, giving space to one another, encouraging, helping. They have never seen that kind of teamwork. What you don't know or what you don't have, you cannot give to someone else. So how on earth are going, for example, a simple conflict. A person who comes from a good home where they have seen their parents resolve conflicts amicably, respectfully, they know when a problem comes up in the relationship that there's a time to cool off, there's a time to talk, there's a time to back off, there's a time to bring it up maybe in a humorous way. There's something known as a softened startup. That means when you start up an argument, the mood in which you start is the mood in which it will end. As a therapist, we encourage people to begin on a good note. That means with good humor, with a desire to understand, with a desire to please, with a desire to genuinely see the other person's point of view, to present the issue in a soft, humble, sweet way. Where is all this possible for a person who comes in with trauma? Their only two reactions are fight or flight, because that's all they know. It takes a lot of time and therapy to overcome these handicaps that come from growing up in a home where there's so much violence, dysfunction, trauma, to reach the point even where they can understand themselves, communicate respectfully, first and foremost even be aware of their own feelings. Most of the time they're out of touch with their feelings. They're getting triggered by so many things of the past. So their reactions are either fight or flight. These are the only two things that happen. So children who are coming from this home, when they're entering marriage, they need a loving, mentor couple to guide them through Grihastha ashram. Otherwise, it's like throwing two people over the side of a ship, putting them on a lifeboat and saying, okay, manage yourselves. How are they going to know anything, how to cross over, you know? They don't have the skills for marriage. They're not qualified for marriage and they've entered marriage. So you can see what a mess today's world is in.
Yes, Mataji. One thing is the actually I feel like yeah, as you said, it's true, but a lot of things are interlinked, right? Like it's a chain of things happening, and it's how they react and act in those situations. Yeah.
So they need a lot of loving guidance. They need a lot of loving support. They need a lot of loving encouragement. Most important, they need to be in touch with a nice older couple who can show them how to be, who can show them how to navigate issues in Grihastha ashram, because they have never seen it in their family of origin.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
This is just my humble 2 cents. Please don't mind. This
Nothing
is my
to mind,
favorite.
Mataji. It's a reality.
Yeah, because I deal with these kind of things, I'm very concerned about the young people today and how they can be helped to, you know, cross over Grihastha ashram nicely, grow up nicely in Krishna consciousness and overcome whatever, you know, bad patterns of behavior they have learned in their family of origin in order to become nice Vaishnavas. It's a big challenge.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Are there any further comments? It's already 6:05. And thank you so much for your wisdom, dear Sri Devi. Yeah, thanks so much. That, you know, it's very helpful to always have a profession, someone who's a professional, you know, who has a professional opinion about all of this. But you know, because I've seen these things in you know, I'm a grihasta, and you know, I had a very strange my early years were not the best, but I've worked through a lot of those things, and I surprisingly, you know, Krishna is the one who helped me with everything. I relied upon Krishna for everything, to get me through everything, to choose my partner for me, to help me to learn how to act, and when I'm not acting properly, how to work on that, who to go to, what mentors to go to get assistance. So yeah, it's very vital today, because people are come from so many different kinds of backgrounds, and many broken backgrounds also. So it's very hard for people to know how to act in a marriage today. It's perfectly correct. So anyway, would it be all right with everyone if we ended here for today? Okay. Thank you so much for being there for me and helping me in my Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you all very much. Please accept my humble obeisances again. I hope and sincerely pray that I have not said anything to offend anyone. That is far from my desire. I sincerely hope that whatever I'm saying is not hurtful or offensive to anyone. Please forgive me if I've said anything to hurt your feelings. I don't mean to do that. I'm just expressing whatever little bit I know, which is nothing practically.
Oh no, I think what you said was perfect. Thank you so much, from my perspective anyway. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.